Welcome back, folks. As you can see, I'm inside today, and that's probably for good reason because it's pretty cold outside. What I'm going to do today is take you through a product that I've been using for the last 15 or so years with great success. And what that is, it's the Lansky Sharpening System. Now, I have no affiliation with this company. All I'm telling you is what I do. This is a great product for me. Hopefully, it's a great product if you decide to try it out. But what the Lansky Sharpening System is this. It's basically a bunch of sharpening stones, bit of oil, and a clamping system that really helps you to sharpen your knives to a really good point. Up until recently, what I've done, well, I shouldn't say recently, up until the last 15 years, what I've done was use one of these. These come with every knife you purchase, like whether it's a hunting knife or a fillet knife or anything of that matter. This is like a little tool that you can basically use just to take any little burrs off your knife. This is not what I would suggest as being your primary sharpening tool, and that's why this thing looks so brand new. It's because I don't really use it. Anytime I get a new knife, this thing basically goes off to the side. Getting back to this, the Lansky Sharpening System. What you're going to find if you were to buy this thing is some rods here. And what these rods do is more or less hook up to the different sharpening stones. So you can see here we've got a sharpening stone on the bottom and a little bit of a hand grip on the top. And then on this side you've got a nut here, or a, what do you call that? What do you call that? Wing nut? Wing bolt? Whatever that is. You got this piece of hardware that allows you to place this rod up through it and then secure it. So it ends up being something like that. Now there's 3 of these colored stones within your kit if you buy this kit. You've got coarse, medium, and fine, and that's just referring to the stone that's on it. Typically, if your blade is in really rough shape, you start off with coarse, work your way to medium, and then to fine. In addition to some of the stones that are found in here in the rods, the other thing you're going to find is this. This is called Nathan's Natural Honing Oil for bench stones and sharpening systems. This goes on to your stone before you start to sharpen. And finally, what you're going to find in here is this system, or this unit rather. What this is basically a clamping system. Your blade is going to sit in here, sort of like so, and get clamped into place. You then have what these are little guides. If you look very closely, they're numbered, and they're numbered 30, 25, 20, and 17. That's referring to angles. So when you're running the stone with the guide, you can select what angle you're going to put your guide rod through, and that's going to determine what angle of edge you're putting on your blade. If you were dealing with a hunting knife or something that needs to have a durable edge, you might use something like a 25-degree angle. So something like so. Whereas if you have a fillet knife and it doesn't have to be as durable, you want it to be a thinner edge, maybe you'd go all the way down to 17 or 20 degrees. And the reason this indicator, this scale is on both sides is because you, instead of having to take your blade out and flip it over each time, you just flip over the entire unit and the matching scale is on the other side. That's great and all, that's great for me to talk about it, but I want to show you today how I actually use it. I sit down in the wintertime and tend to go over any blades I have so that when the weather does get nice, or whether I need it or not, it's available. So what I'm going to show you today is this. This is my knife. I bet I've had this for 20 years or more. This is a Grohmann #2 trout and bird knife. Grohmann is a good Canadian company. This knife is made in Pictou, Nova Scotia, and it's a real good workhorse. This thing's been used for everything, and it's come back swinging. So I bet, without a word of a lie, I've had this for 20 years. So I'm going to show you how I would sharpen this today using my Lansky Sharpening System, because it's just about due. First thing I do, I grab this out, and it's got 2 adjustments. It's got this adjustment, this red knob here, and it's got this screw here. Typically I'd have a screwdriver, but I forgot it out in the shop. But what these 2 adjustments allow you to do is basically to get a good clamping force on your blade, because you don't want it to move. Now another thing to take note of, and I'm just going to rotate this slightly, you'll see on each of the ends there's a bit of a step. That's so that the blade doesn't slide all the way back. You don't want the blade fit that in there. You don't want the blade to get too far in there. All you want is for the blade to sit right in those steps, right on the edge, like, oh, not like that. Let's tighten this up here. There we go. Let's try it again. Right like that. You just want it to sit on the edge. Once it's sitting on that edge or that step, you'll feel that you can't push it down any further, and that's perfect. Hold it snug there, and then tighten that red knob. And now what you have is you have the blade positioned exactly where you need it to. There's no movement there. And then when you're sharpening, all you're going to do is take your coarse stone, if you're starting with a coarse stone, pick your angle, and then you're going to hone the blade, or sharpen the blade, flip it over, and do the same thing on the other side. Before I get started, I'm going to leave this to the side, and I'm going to place this on a flat surface, and then I'm going to retighten whatever this hardware is called in order to get a perfect plane for the rod and the top of the stone. If you were to look there now, it should be fairly close to a perfect plane. That's nice and snug. Then I would take a little bit of my honing oil, and I don't take much. I usually put a little drop at the top, like so. Then you can use your finger and spread it out there. Wipe that off. And now I'm ready to begin. So just choose whichever side you want to start on. For me, I'm a lefty, so I like to use the honing stone in my left hand. I hold in my right hand. I'm going to pick my angle. In this case, I'm picking 25 degrees. That's what I've always used with this knife. Gives a really, really good durable edge. I'm going to start at the tip. I'm going to make even passes all the way to the end. And I'm just going to go across it once. I'm not going to do this 4 times this side, 4 times the other. I'm going to sharpen once on this side, flip it over once on this side. And the way that I sharpen is, I try to maintain consistent pressure. So I'm not digging into this sucker. This isn't like an old rough and tumble truck you're just trying to hammer on. This is something you're trying to finesse. You're trying to get a nice edge. So keep the pressure consistent from one side to the other. So here's how I would do it. You guys can watch me here. So just like so. Flip it over. We'll do the same side on the other. And just like that. And then you'll notice there's a bit of residue there. That's probably from the honing oil. You can just wipe that off. And then you repeat again. And you're going to do this several times, or at least until you don't notice any type of major damage like chips or foldovers in the knife edge. So right from the beginning. There. Nice consistency. And basically what this rod is doing, it's maintaining my angle for me. If I were to do this freehand with a knife, I would probably be rocking up and down like that, and that's not ideal. So using this sharpening system really helps to hold the correct angle for me. There. Let's see what we're dealing with here. Oh yeah, that's good. I don't usually let my knives get too dull. So once I notice they're getting remotely dull, I bring them in and get them sharpened. That way I don't have some major surgery to do each time I break out the Lansky sharpening system. So that's pretty good for the coarse stone. So the next thing I would do, I'll set that to the side. You can use the same rod, but I'm probably going to do a bunch of knives today, so I'll leave that other one set up. So I get the medium, the medium stone. I'm going to put just a touch of oil on that as well. Just a touch. We'll get that spread apart there. And I probably, now that I think about it, I probably should have put that oil on after I did this. But that is life. Okay, that is now on a good plane there. This is nice and tight. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Now, I've sort of forgotten which side I put the stone on last, but try to keep consistent going from one side to the other, one side to the other. You don't want to go twice on one side and then once on the other, once on this side and twice on the other. You want to be consistent. One side, flip it over, other side. And just like I did before, consistent pressure. Pretty good. We'll do the other side. And I always start at the tip and work backwards. It's up to you. I'm not saying you have to do that. That's what I do. There we go. Flip it over again. And that is pretty good. You're going to really start to notice the edge when it starts to get sharp. And that's looking pretty good for me. And if you guys get in here nice and close, we'll do one more here. So this is the fine stone. So this would be what you do last. And just like I did before, we'll loosen this off so I can get the rod in there. Then I'm going to set it down on a flat surface. Tighten this up. Okay, check the plane, looks pretty good. In this case, I have some residual oil on there from a previous sharpening, so I'm not going to add any more. Last thing I'm going to do just before I start, make sure the blade is seated right in those steps. Tighten this up if I need to, don't need to. And then just like before, I'm going to pick my angle, 25 degrees, starting here at the tip. Nice even pressure just to finish it off. And that's it. You may do that once, you may do that twice. For me, this thing is pretty much a razor right now, so I'm not going to go overboard. I think I've got it. But that's basically the Lansky Sharpening System. It's a really good product. You can even get an upgraded version that has a stand. That's why that hole's there. So this would then sit on the stand, and then you don't have to keep it balanced with your other hand. And then you just do the same process and flip it over on that stand, and might make life a little bit easier. But that's basically it. I love this thing. As I mentioned, I have no affiliation with Lansky. I've just found it to be a really good product, and why not pass along some good products to you folks who may end up doing the same thing as I do and having to sharpen some knives. Anyways, if you wanted to buy this, where I found it, I bought it at what's called Mountain Equipment Co-op. It's a Canadian store. You can also buy it on Amazon.com. And I had a look at the price earlier, and for you guys to buy it in America, it's $23.96 American. And for us in Canada, unfortunately, it's $43.82 Canadian. You guys know how that works. So that's it. That's the Lansky Sharpening System. You guys have any questions at all, make sure to put it down below. If you have any comments that might help me or help anyone else viewing sharpen their knives, by all means, throw that down below as well. In the meantime, guys, you guys all stay warm out there. Make sure you come on back next time, and thanks for watching.